Hi, got another gadget for you to see here. This is something else, let me tell you. This is a case annealing machine from a company called Bench Source, my bad. And this is a machine they call the Vertex. Uses a couple of propane torches to heat the tip of the case from the neck up and do it for a prescribed period of time and drop it into a waiting canister over here. Does it all very much automatically. No guesswork on your part. You come out with just really nicely annealed cases every time. It's a pretty good feature. This whole topic of annealing is extremely well covered on the internet, and I'm not going to get into the details of it. There's no point. There is one particularly good video, and I'm going to have a link to it on the screen, so I'm not sure where, but look around, you'll see it, and click on that, and I'll also put it in the comments notes down below, so you can click on that. So to learn some of the details about how much time and temperature and so forth, you can do that. What I want to do today is show you this machine. This is a jewel. It really is, and I want to show it to you up close. All the controls are over here. You have a switch to turn it on, and that starts a fan inside. This plate up here does all the work, and there are 10 sets of small holes and 10 sets of large holes. So for something like a 223, you would use the small hole. And I'm going to turn it on and let it start going so you'll see what it is that it does. And you'll just keep adding them in so it's all full. When it gets here inside the torch, it rotates. So watch that one again. That's where it's going to rotate inside the flame. Now the amount of time that it spends there is determined by this little dial. I had it on 1.5 seconds. Now let's put it on 3.5. 3.5 seconds in the flame, which would probably burn that one up, but that's all right. But we have a range of time anywhere from 1.5 seconds of pause, like that, all the way up to 10. Now we should get 10 seconds of pause here, which obviously you won't do, but that just gives you an idea of how much range it has. I don't know, maybe there's a reason for it going that high, but for these 223 cases, I'm finding about 2.5 seconds seems to do the trick. Moving in close to the plate, you can see the quality of the workmanship. Notice how the edges are beveled, and it's thick aluminum which has been anodized, beautifully done. All the holes are just smooth as glass, and everything's melted like butter. So that's just smooth and slick, which doesn't actually make it work better as far as this outside, but it just shows the quality that goes into this thing from one end to the other. All the attention paid to this one part. Again, the quality of workmanship. Look how thick. That's at least a quarter, probably 5/16 thick aluminum. Nicely counterbored. Those corners that are cut, they didn't have to do that, but it sure looks good. It's just part of the design. You know, when somebody takes that much trouble with the aesthetics, you have reason to believe that everything else had that much attention paid to it. Smooth, I mean, that is baby butt smooth. Now this plate needs to be thick because the case that's sitting on it, you don't want the head part to ever get hot or very hot, so it acts as a heat sink and protects that head. The control panel is nicely done. Good attention to the label, all the information to contact the company. You have this switch which turns the entire thing on and off, and when you turn it on, you hear the fan come on. It may sound loud here, I don't know. It's not loud at all. This switch down is for manual operation, and up one time puts it into automatic operation. So the auto works with the time, and this dial is actually, even though it says, well, I mean, the numbers correspond to seconds, so it's not just arbitrary numbers. It dropped a case out on the other side, and I didn't have a can to catch it, but anyway. So you just set your time right here with that dial, and that'll be the pause time, the time that it's going to be in the flame. And you got a fuse and your power supply, and that's it. It's very simple. You push it down and it stops rotating. All right, let me show you how this drive plate or indexing plate or whatever it is that they call it, how it attaches. You've got all the knobs on this thing are machined out of aluminum with very good knurling on them. They're just well made, just indicative of everything else. You got these little washers here. All right, move that aside for a moment. This plate sits on top of the Geneva wheel, as it is known amongst engineering types. And it sits on there with these slots. So that allows you to line up either a small hole or a large hole over the spinner down here where the flame is. Furthermore, you can fine-tune its location so as to take out the wobble in the cartridge, and I'll show you that in just a moment. Just for fun, let me show you the Geneva wheel in action. Now, something to really observe here, and you'll understand later why this is so important. Notice that when the indexing wheel comes around, or the pin comes around, that it actually strikes the edge, this side of the slot, and drives the Geneva wheel backwards, ever so slightly. Watch it. See there? If you'll watch the screw back. Now watch this screw here, back. You see that? When it stops, it backs up a little bit. Now the purpose of that, we'll watch it with a plate. Watch a case in here. It's being pushed along, but when it stops, it backs away from it. So the case is not touching, I haven't fine-tuned it yet, but the case is not touching the sides, so it's out there in the middle and it's going to spin correctly. That one's going to go right past because I don't have it in there right. But anyway, that's some attention to detail that I find absolutely delightful to find that in the machine. Now here's the rotator right here. So this goes and then this goes. And that, of course, operates for the specified period of time. One other thing about the Geneva movement is that you'll notice that at all times, the black indexing Geneva wheel is engaged into the pins. There's never a point where you can freewheel it. You just can't do it. I'm putting pressure on it, and it's going to turn, and it's never going to get out of sync. It won't get into some intermediate position where it could jam up and so forth. Here's an opening where your fan blows air up under this drive plate in order to, maintain some coolness about the temperature. But I think you'll agree, and the precision fit on that pin in the middle is really, really nice. It is a slick fit. Oh well, I'll show you. Let's see. Okay. What you want to do in order to set this thing up, obviously, first thing you do is you put the top on, put these two washers on, you put your little clamping nut on there. And this thing has a lot of clamps on it, so the fact that these things are machined very nicely is a big deal. Okay, I'm using the small one, so what I'm going to do is eyeball that it's over the center, and then I'm going back that way just a hair. And let's see if I got it right. What I'm looking for to see if the case wobbles when it's sitting on the spinner. Yeah, I went a little too far. So we'll loosen it, and you don't have to Superman clamp it either. And very little does what you want it to do. All right, let's see what we get. Yeah. A little bit of wobble. I mean, if you want to be anal about it and get all of it out, you can. A little bit, that little tiny bit won't matter. Watch again. Not any in it now. So, I'll try to show you what I'm talking about the side-to-side wobble. You see how it moves ever so slightly from side to side, and it's not too bad. Let me stop it and make a slight adjustment. I'll do that. It may make it worse, in which case you can really see what I'm talking about better. Yeah, that made it worse. Okay. So what I want to do is come back. I want to come back that way just a little, I think. All right. Oh yeah. Very good. I'll increase the dwell time, and you'll see. You have a chance to see the wobble. You see, that's not enough there to make any difference at all. That's just perfect. You notice that it has a bubble level, and these leveling feet underneath. Wait a minute. Allow you to bring it right on in. It's not critical that it be just dead level, but it makes things run a little smoother. Now, as if it were not hot enough already, I think it's about 90 here on the porch. Let's talk about the heat. It's designed, I think, to work perfectly with the burnzomatic propane torches. You'll find these just about everywhere. But I'll tell you this, I purchased a different brand. It looked just like it. In terms of the box, it was the same bluish color and so forth. But the pipe part of the nozzle, this part right here, was much smaller. Is very well made, but I was concerned about it supporting the weight of the bottle out here. Not only that, the tip was a slightly smaller diameter, so it took an inordinate amount of clamping pressure to get it to clamp up. So just save yourself some trouble and just get the one that they designed it for in the first place, which is the burnzomatic. Now, you can operate this with one torch. It works fine because it rotates. However, with two, things will move a lot faster, and if you've got a lot of cases to do, then that makes a big difference. The torches work just fine. When you turn it on, when you light it and turn it on, you want to open the valve until the flame reaches its maximum point. At one point, you'll keep turning and it won't get any longer. At that point, turn it back to the spot where it was at its maximum. That will give you a consistent torch or flame each time. And the other thing is you'll wind up with the tip of the flame, the tip of the blue, that inner blue glow, which is the hottest part. The tip of that will be right over the hole here in the case plate, and that's just exactly what you want. Now, here's the thing. You don't have to use these propane bottles. It's a good idea to make sure this thing's unplugged. I did, and make sure it's not on, because there was some propane gas released when I did that. Just a little, but yeah, better safe than sorry. I don't know, these cost anywhere from about $3, $2 or $3, up to about $5 or $6, depending on where you buy them. It's 14 ounces. Well, back there behind me, you see my barbecue grill, and it has a 20-pound tank on it. The kind you can get at it anywhere. Home Depot is where I got mine. They swap them out and so forth. So now all I'm going to use is just the torch heads, and I want to connect them to that 20-pound propane tank, which, by the way, they had a Memorial Day special out at our local LP gas company, and they filled that totally empty tank for $5. So 20 pounds for $5, 14 ounces for the same price. Yeah, no brainer. Well, the first thing you need is this. This is a device that will allow you to connect 2 hoses to the one tank. And I'll show you this in a close-up, of course. But this has the typical left-hand thread that screws on, just like the hose probably that's in your gas grill does. And then you have 2 spouts coming out of it that are identical to the spout coming out of it, out of the tank. Then what you need is a couple of hoses. Now, I don't know, you may be able to buy these on the internet. I didn't have any luck finding them right off, partly because I wasn't sure what I was looking for. But here's the hose, and it's 6 feet long, and it has different fittings on each end, and that's the critical part, of course. Now, where did I get this hose? I got it out at my local LP gas distributor. Look, you know, even if you live in a rural area, there's bound to be somebody selling LP gas, and they can make up hoses and assemblies. They also had this. So, what's on it? Well, on one end, is that loud enough for you? On one end is the fitting that will go inside the fitting on your gas tank. It doesn't look like the one that's on the hose. You could use one like that if you could find it, but this is a lot neater and simpler. And it goes inside. It has the left-hand thread, so you screw it backwards until it gets in there. Since it's got rich threads on it, that tells you you're going to have to be a little more than hand tight with it, but you don't have to be a lot. Don't Superman that thing, because it just crushes the nose. That's what you'll do on that end, and then on this end you have a fitting that, and I asked him what's it called. He said, I don't know. He said it's the one that fits your torch. But at any rate, it's got the receptacle down inside with a plastic bushing that fits over the snout that sticks out of the back of these fittings, and it's a right-hand thread. I don't know why they use that left-hand thread on that other one, but it's nicely made out of brass, and it's knurled, and you just do it finger tight, and that's it. And you hook up both hoses and hook that to your tank, and you're in business. Good job for grandchildren. And you just keep on doing that till you're through. Thank you for watching. Elvis has left the building.